Welcome to More to Come. I'm Dee, and I'm so glad that you're with me today. This is my second YouTube video on the More to Come podcast and YouTube channel, and I'm just excited because this is my opportunity to hold myself accountable to all the things that I'm learning and trying to grow at this season of life. So let me just give you a rundown here. I'm really hoping to grow in faith, in wisdom, in purpose. Also, wonder. I don't want to forget that as I age. And health. That's something that I think about a lot too. And I would imagine if you've clicked on this channel, maybe you are curious about some things along all of those lines too. So I'd like to invite you to join me on this journey because it is exciting to me to be in this season where I actually have time to read these books behind me and maybe share some of the wisdom that I'm able to gain along the way, not only from books, but from people that I'll be interviewing, from the people that I know and admire, and also from you as you share your thoughts on this YouTube channel. So welcome along. I'm really glad that you're with me. I'll tell you a little bit about me. For those of you that don't know, I'm a longtime news broadcaster. I was in local television news for 40 years plus, retired a few years ago, and took up high school teaching. Loved it. 5 years of teaching high school students life skills. That was really a lot of fun. And now I have a different hat. I'm a farmer. Or if you talk to real farmers, they'll tell you I'm just a farmer wannabe. But my family bought a multi-generational setup here. Well, I shouldn't say we bought it. We're developing it because it's got a long way to go. But we have 20 acres, and one of our family members really knows what he's doing. The rest of us are learning along the way, especially me. But I love it. I love what I'm learning from my alpacas, horses, cows, chickens, goats. Got to have a couple of goats if you're going to have a farm, I suppose. So I'm just excited to pass all of that along to you because in this life that I've been given, I have enjoyed learning and I still enjoy learning. And I was really pleased to find out that learning new things is great for our brains as we age. So I'm committed to learning new things all the time. And one of them is learning how to do this YouTube channel. So I hope you'll forgive me for all of the faux pas and the things that I will probably do wrong and need to improve upon. But you know what? That's what life's about. It's about learning, growing, getting better. And my life is not over, even though I turned 70 this year. So let me tell you why I'm going to do this YouTube channel. What's my real purpose? What's my motivation? A couple years ago, I went to my 50th high school class reunion, and it was hard for me to believe. I couldn't believe it's been 50 years, well now 52 years since I graduated from high school. And the team that was putting it together back in my hometown decided for some reason that I would be the perfect person to put together the memorial table. And I was honored, that they thought of me. I was honored that they'd want me to have a part in this because that's a big deal. A 50-year class reunion is a big deal. And honoring the students who had not lived to enjoy that celebration seemed like a really important task. So I took it on and immediately discovered that a lot of my classmates from 1974 had already passed away. And as I read their obituaries and I gathered up their pictures with the help of some really good graduates, I was really humbled by the fact that, I'd kind of been grumbling about growing older. The wrinkles are kind of hard, I got to admit. And some of the aches and pains had started to creep up and become problems. And I was starting to complain a little bit, or maybe a lot some days, about growing older. But boy, as I looked at that memorial table and all the pictures there, I was humbled and grateful that I get to be old. So that was one of my motivations for wanting to do this YouTube channel. I don't want to forget that this is a great season of life and it's not given to everyone. And we are blessed to have it. So we need to make the most of it. So that's one of the reasons for the YouTube channel. Another reason, I mentioned that I was teaching life skills to high school students for 5 years. And in that 5 years, I was privileged to create a curriculum for 2 amazing, very, very excellent high schools. And that was also a very daunting task, and I loved every minute of it. I especially loved time in the classroom with those youngsters. They really were amazing, and I just saw them at their graduation, some of them that I had had as freshmen. And I just was reminded of how much growth takes place in our high school years. And it shouldn't stop now in our older season of life. We still have an opportunity to grow just as voraciously and enthusiastically as high school students can. And you know what? High school students, they roll their eyes, they grumble, they complain sometimes. That's the last thing they want to do, is come to my class, any class, and learn. But when you go to their graduation and you see how proud they are of everything they've learned in those last 4 years, well, you realize that underneath it all, yes, we all have a need to keep growing and learning and creating more brain connections so that we can be more effective in everything that we do. And that doesn't end with aging. And the cool thing is, science is proving and showing that we can still grow. We can still improve. We can still be vital, even when some of our physical abilities or even some of our mental abilities maybe seem to be slipping away more than we would like. And I have a third reason, and it's really coming all down to this. I met someone who exemplified all those things. Now, she was my mom's best friend, as my mom was living in, well, I guess you would call it, it's a senior living apartment complex. They had just enough help to keep them be independent. You know, they would go for their meals, and they had a physical therapy center, and they had places that they could go and attend. But it was still, you know, it was an old folks' home in a way. And she made probably two of her best friends of her whole life there. And that was a blessing of that time. And one of them was Jane. Jane kept my mom going. My mom was in her late 80s, and she was physically really struggling. She was in a lot of pain for about the last, 7, 8 years of her life. And Jane would come and get her to go on walks in the hallways of that apartment complex. And I know my mom probably had a couple of more years of life because of Jane. And here's the hard thing. My mom passed away about 1.5 years ago. And after that, Jane, she started to struggle too. And she's older than my mom. She right now is 97 years old. So she was, quite a few years older than my mom. My mom died at 89. Well, Jane started to decline, and it was noticeable. And her family, of course, hated to see it, because Jane was one of those people, spunky, but quiet. She was one of those that you just loved to be around because she kind of brought a sense of calm. That was the way my mom was too, by the way. She just had this way about her of just being calm, and even in pain, she really didn't complain, and she was just a wonderful person to be around. And so was Jane. So they were a great pair. And Jane missed my mom a lot, and still does. I get to see Jane still, and I just am so grateful for the friendship they had. And that was hard on Jane. I'm not grateful that it was hard on Jane, but it was hard on Jane. And my mom wasn't the only one. Several other of her friends started to pass away. So her family decided, after she had to go to the hospital and was really not doing well, they said, we need to bring her home. So they took her home, and I get to see them fairly often. And so, I don't know, maybe a few months after she'd been home living with them in this, again, another multi-generational type of situation like mine here on the farm, but a little different, she looked so much better, and she was visibly doing better. And 6 months later, when I saw her, I had to say, Jane, you look 10 years younger. You look a lot younger. How are you? And she said, I'm just feeling great, doing good. So positive. And then I saw how physically she was changing. She had slowed down considerably. But Jane, and I'm going to tell you a lot more about her in another video, but she was more active than ever and curious than ever. She came out here to see our baby foal this spring, and she just was soaking it all in. And I saw in a person how these little things that we do, getting regular exercise, fresh air, connection with family, and going to church on Sunday mornings with everybody else, not in a little room in a little apartment complex where there was this rotating pastor every week. And nothing wrong with that. Those are blessings. Please don't take me wrong. That's a good thing too. But just being in life had brought life back to her. And it was just a wonderful example to me of how, as much as possible, we can help people that are growing older, But now that I'm one of them, how I can help myself. How do I stay plugged in? How do I stay vital? How do I find purpose in this season of life? So I'm on a journey, and I'm inviting you to go on that journey with me. And my commitment to you is that I will try to stay very positive, but I won't shy away from the hard things of life. I know this season can be hard too. I have friends who are suffering loss and wondering, God, why am I here? But this is the final reason that I would like to do this. It's a good question. Why are we here? Why have we been given old age? And I believe that God is not done with us yet. You know, God wants to know you. He wants you to know Him. And it's our purpose to make Him known if we love Him, and I do. I'm a follower of Jesus, and I read my Bible every day, at least I try. And I not only read it, but I study it, and I'm kind of addicted to it because it has been such a vital force in my life. So that's my belief. I believe that when we wake up in the morning and we wonder, why am I here? These aches and pains are catching up with me. What am I doing? Why am I here, God? He has an answer. And I think together we can journey along and we can find some of those answers, whether it's being more filled with faith and hope about what comes next. Maybe it's more wisdom to know how to live this life that suddenly is on us in these older years. Whether it's health. I was a reporter for 40 years, and so I'm very curious, and I would really like to know more about healthy living at this age, but there's so much out there. How do we kind of weed through it all and figure it out? So I'm going to be trying to figure it out for myself, and I'll pass some of those things along to you. But also, I just want to say, I want to keep growing in wonder, and I believe God wants us to too. His creation sings His glories morning, noon, and night. And so I'll be sharing some of those things for you from here on the farm. So anyway, thanks for being with me here on More to Come, because there is more to come.